When you're looking at a property as a potential rental investment, believe it or not, the market rental rate for the area is not the be-all end-all. In today's conversation, we talk about a new concept in which you can get multifamily net income results without buying a commercial property. Welcome to the Caffeine and Dreams Podcast. I'm your host, real estate investing strategist and agent, Erica Parker. Here on the Caffeine and Dreams Podcast, we explore the real estate and real estate adjacent niches that people have carved out for themselves. And today's guest has been investing for several years. His name is Eric Williams. I'll introduce him in just a moment. I've been so pumped to bring this concept to you since he introduced it to me. I truly believe this concept is a solution to both the affordable housing dilemma and real estate investors being able to make money in a high interest rate and high insurance environment. Eric's successes range from wholesaling, performing fix and flips like the one that netted him $120,000 within 3 months, retaining buy and holds, and he specializes using OPM to build his real estate portfolio and bring value to those investors. Now, let's get to the conversation. All right, thank you so much, Eric, for joining us. We're super excited to have you. First off, unfortunately, we're doing this a little bit later, guys, so we don't have caffeine with us, but we are living on our caffeine. But I wanted to start off by having you kind of explain to people how you got started in real estate and the story behind you finding this niche that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so like everybody else, probably, I started out with like a normal W-2. I was working in oil and gas, like a lot of people that live in Houston do. And then I took a voluntary severance back in like 5 or 6 years ago. I don't remember exactly which year right now, but that was kind of like seed money to get my first couple burrs in. Then a little over 2 years ago, I joined the Big Dog Group here in Texas, and that was kind of like it's really hard to do this without a support system, without like people that you can ask, like, bounce questions off of, because every deal, no matter how long I've been doing it, I always have questions, I always have things, and so that's helped me kind of scale and get to where I am now.
I guess my first question and something to kind of explain is, can you explain what Padsplit and Padsplitting is for the viewers out there and this niche that you're going into?
Yeah, so Padsplit is actually not like a new concept. Padsplit's actually the company that helps kind of facilitate this strategy, if you will. It's a co-living situation. So rather than renting out a single family house as a whole unit, for whatever you can get, let's say $2,000, you could rent it out by the room, let's say for a 4-bedroom house for, let's say, $700 a room, and make a little bit more money. And then on top of that, the Padsplit model takes a step further, and they actually encourage you to take any types of shared spaces other than kitchens and bathrooms and convert that into rooms if possible. So convert a dining room into a room, convert a living room into a room, game rooms, maybe like a breakfast nook if it's big enough, anything like. They actually encourage getting rid of shared spaces because in their opinion, if in this co-living type of situation, if there are issues that arrive between the tenants, it's usually in shared spaces. So removing that almost kind of, it does two things for you. It increases your rentable square footage, and it also decreases the possibility of issues arising.
Okay. And so this that you mentioned, Padsplit is kind of the company, I guess, that is helping you with this particular investing niche. What is their management fee?
So they charge 15%, a little bit under actually, I think, of the gross rents. So let's say if you had, let's just do something real easy, and like $1,000, then you'd be paying $150 to Padsplit.
Okay. And that is, they specifically rent it out for you. They do all the background stuff, but they don't do the maintenance, correct?
Yeah, so the distribution of responsibilities is
Mhm.
Padsplit does all of the marketing. They get the leases in place. They do the background checks on the tenants, all that type of
Mhm.
stuff. You still can review all that stuff. They provide all that for you to review, and you have the last say on approving or disapproving any tenants. But yeah, that's kind of where their responsibilities, and they also help support if there are any like legal issues down the road,
Mhm.
evictions, whatever. Um, but
Right.
other than that, maintenance is on you. Move in and move out of the tenants is on you. And so what I do on top of having Padsplit is I hire a property manager to kind of handle all of that type of stuff because, I don't know what your viewers level is, but like if I'm even doing like a long-term rental, that's something I usually property manage. So
Mhm.
I definitely wouldn't want to manage a property where I have like 6, 7, 8 tenants in one place. If that's going to increase the amount of maintenance requests, that's going to increase the amount of move in, move out. The
Mhm.
tenure of these tenants is by nature going to be a little bit shorter, so you're going to have a lot more turnover. So getting a property manager in place for this one was a no-brainer for me.
Sure. And that was something. Did Padsplit kind of introduce you to this property manager? Because my understanding is he also has Padsplits as well. Is
They
that
did
how you did it?
recommend about 5 or 6 property managers because I wanted to, at least for this first one for sure, to get a property manager that had been has managed Padsplit properties before. So while
Mhm.
the responsibility, like, it's not more or less work. I just say it's different work than your
Mhm.
typical long-term rental because the property manager in this case doesn't have to get the leases in place. They don't have to find you tenants. They don't have to do all that type of stuff, but they are going to be doing kind of more move in and move outs. They're going to be probably handling a little bit more maintenance requests than a typical house. So I
Mhm.
wanted to have a property manager that was familiar with kind of that split of responsibilities and not
Mhm.
like try to charge me something and then come back and kind of just be surprised that it wasn't what they were envisioning, I guess.
Mhm.
And
And
then my property manager on top of that owns his own, so he's actually given me a lot of like good advice on like what to do with the rehab, how to stage the house, furnish it, things like that.
yeah, and so that's another thing that I wanted to talk about. So, did Padsplit help you with determining where bedrooms needed to be, and did they help with hiring the contractors, or did you use your own contractor and then they come in at the end? How does that work a little bit?
They come in at the end, so
Okay.
they do not like. I did talk with their general manager for the Houston area. Actually, he's the general manager for all of Texas right now.
Okay.
But and he advised me on things to do. And then Padsplit does have their typical requirements of how big a room needs to be, like their minimums and of what that needs to be. Like there has to be at least 70 square feet with like I can't remember a certain width for each
Mhm.
wall. So it's not just like a 1 by 10 or something
Yeah.
or 7. Yeah, and
Mhm.
and then there has to be it has to be furnished in a certain way. There has to be
Mhm.
2 points of egress. One of them has to be to an exterior wall, so like a
Mhm.
window and a door, if you
Okay.
will. And then once it's all done, then Padsplit does either send somebody out, but I think what we did is my property manager actually went over there and did like a kind of virtual walkthrough with them and went to the different rooms and proved that like the windows can open
Mhm.
if that's the point of egress, and then proved that the smoke detectors worked and stuff like that.
Okay. And then also Padsplit, you mentioned this, he's the manager of Texas. Padsplit is kind of national, but their biggest markets right now currently are Atlanta, Georgia, and Houston, Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah. So they're in a lot of different cities and they're expanding. Kind of, they've really started to grow. I'd say over the last year. But
Hmm.
yeah, they started out in Atlanta. They're actually still based out of Atlanta. So that's been their longest running market.
Hmm.
Houston is their biggest market outside of Atlanta, and they have stuff in Jacksonville, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Tampa. They have Kansas City. They just recently opened up. San Antonio. They just recently opened up. Dallas is another big market for them in Texas. So they're kind of all over. Phoenix, I believe, is another place that they have. So yeah, they're expanding. I think, but they're open to discussions on expanding to different markets if you can prove a need. Like, let's say you got already have 5 houses or something in city A. Talk to Padsplit and tell them hey, I can get 6-7 rooms in each of these things. They'd probably be interested in trying it out in where you are if you think that the affordable housing market is something that would be a draw in that market.
Okay. And that's another thing is this Padsplit really is kind of more of the affordable housing type of situation, correct? Is that the thought?
Yeah, that's
Padsplit.
The model is designed and they market specifically to people that are probably more like blue collar workers or something. So you're looking at
Anywhere from
construction
600
kind of workers, janitorial staff.
Okay.
But truck drivers. My manager says he has a lot of truck drivers.
Okay.
In places.
So when I say affordable housing, ultimately you're looking at probably I know they rent by the week, but you're looking at probably around $600 to maybe $1,200 a month at most. Is that kind of what you're thinking on
Yeah,
rooms?
so
do they have rooms out there that are going to rent for $2,000 a month? I doubt
it's definitely going to depend on the location.
Okay.
So stuff in Houston, the center of the city, is going to typically, just because you're competing, you got to think about you're competing with your 1-bedroom apartments and stuff. It has to be cheaper than what is on the market in that area. Otherwise, you're not going to get anyone that wants to share a bathroom if they can get something for just $100 more a month. So you have to look at the area that you're in, and also then the prices even within my house vary based on one of them has its own private half bath, so that one's going to be more than the ones that have to share a bath or don't have their own half bath. Some of them are bigger. We provide TVs in the bigger ones for them. So it's just kind of kind of the layout of your house. You can adjust the pricing up or down as you feel like the demand dictates.
And so for the viewers out there, I wanted to kind of go over one of the examples that we have going down right now, where basically Eric had a house out in Baytown and it rented 2 years ago for around $1,500 a month. It was a house and a back separate kind of studio apartment. And it rented for $1,500 a month on the on the MLS. And in this same situation where he's using Padsplit, he's projected to make around $4,200 to $5,000 a month. Is that correct?
Yep. So, and actually, so my gross profit annually, at least projected right now. So I had this house for a little over 2 years, 3 years, and I was making somewhere around $5,000 a year profit, long-term rental. With Padsplit, I'm estimating somewhere around $25,000.
Yeah, that's insane. That's what I love about this concept, is that you're getting almost a apartment style return with a single family home. And so it's really kind of a really cool concept, and you're not having to spend a ton of money, and you can still meet that 1% rule now, because it's so much harder for people to meet that 1% rule with interest rates being what they are. So I really love this concept because of that. I know that, and I'd love to talk about this in another episode on the kind of a Padsplit rental arbitrage type thing. So we'll talk about that in another Padsplit if y'all are interested, or another Caffeine and Dreams podcast. If y'all are interested, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear. But one of the things I also would love to interview your property manager, because he has made kind of a separate business even on top of being your property manager, he's also kind of found, from my understanding, he found wholesale prices for certain furniture to get these bedrooms furnished. And he also kind of does some upsell rentals for the people in the bedrooms so that you make more money and he makes more money. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's actually the reason I interviewed about 5 different property managers for this.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were not in the Houston area, so while I like them, I wanted to have someone that was local that could easily get over to the house if I needed to, just potentially saving me a trip if necessary. But also Dave was the most creative out of all of them, and he kind of sold himself on like, look, this is how I furnish these things. In every single room, we have a TV mount on the wall already. We have curtain rods on the walls already. We make sure that there are outlets on every wall, so we can easily place a desk if they want to pay for a desk as an additional upcharge, or if they want to get a TV, we can easily mount it on that TV mount. If they want to get blackout curtains for the room, all the rooms come with mini blinds, but they don't really keep any light out. So those are all things that can just give you a little bit more marginal income. And so, I really like that he had those things kind of all, all those different ideas to just kind of like increase your income just that much more. And that 25,000 doesn't include any of that type of stuff. That was just kind of like, that's just bonus, the way I look at it. And Dave provides all of like the TV mount and the curtain rods and everything at his cost. He doesn't even charge me.
Okay, so he doesn't, when he gives you that package of like, here's what it's going to cost to furnish this whole room, he doesn't do any kind of upcharging for that?
No, I mean, like, honestly, it was like little under $1,000 per room to furnish to begin with. And so, yeah, that because I guess like he probably gets it for so cheap, is like it's worth it for both him and me. Like he probably gets a return on it, and if he gets like a couple of them rented out,
sure.
They can't get much money.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. So one of the other things I wanted to ask, I noticed that there's no mailboxes. Are people able to send mail there, or do they get their own mailbox at like a PO box? How does all that work on mail?
Yeah, they would have to get a PO box if they wanted to get mail delivered to them. I mean, they could order like an Amazon package or something to get delivered to the front doorstep. But as far as like getting mail sent to the address, that's something that they're not supposed to be doing.
Okay, gotcha. And then how do you feel like people should, if they want to look at this as potentially being something to do with their home, what do you think their first steps need to be? Is it looking at if there's an HOA, looking at if that's available, or just contacting Padsplit first? Like conceptually, what are the first steps that you would say someone needed to take to look and see if this property or an existing property they have or a property they might be purchasing would be a good Padsplit?
I mean, I would definitely encourage anyone that's interested in Padsplit to reach out to Padsplit. That's a big reason that I chose to use Padsplit, because Airbnb is coming out with like Airbnb rooms. There are other services that do this, but like the level of support that Padsplit provides as far as like, helping and advising and stuff. And, they gave me the contractor that I used, the property manager. They gave me lots of different references, and those are the ones I called because I wanted to use people that were familiar with the model. So that's a great way to start. But even on your own though, usually the limiting factors that I'm finding in houses that I identify are going to be, is parking. Parking is the biggest problem. And what comes and kind of falls in line with that is if there's an HOA or not. So I usually look, is there like a big driveway, garage? How many cars could I potentially fit in that driveway? How many would have to be stacked up? Is there a way that I can convert like a backyard or something into additional parking? And if there's an HOA, is street parking allowed? And in those cases, I'm trying to find houses that are maybe, if street parking is allowed, that are like corner lots. That way, there's a lot of cars that could potentially park in front of the house, and you're not parking in front of a neighbor's, because long term, if you're parking in front of a neighbor's house every day, that's probably not going to be something that goes unnoticed.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, if you are interested in learning more about Padsplit, I'm going to drop a link in the description below. Go ahead and click that link, and it'll take you to Padsplit so you can understand and get a little more information about them. In this current home that we're talking about, the one that is just recently been put out there by Padsplit, when we rented it for $1,500 a month, there were, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms in the main house, and then there was a back studio kind of apartment with a bathroom. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
And now, how many rooms total are in this Padsplit?
So the main house has six rooms now.
Okay, instead of 3.
2.5 bathrooms. So I converted the dining room into a bedroom. I converted the living room into a bedroom just by putting up some false walls and moving some doors, like the entryway into the kitchen has kind of been moved now. And then upstairs, against the wall of the existing bathroom, I built another kind of small, very basic bathroom that took away some of the space for one of the rooms, but it's still a pretty good sized room. And and then one of the big rooms downstairs I split into 2.
Yes, that was originally the master, and it had the little half bath. So that one with the half bath, how much more is that one renting compared to the other one that doesn't have a half bath?
The half bath one is going for about like $20 more a week, so $100 more a month.
Okay, all right, and
or
then
$80 more a month.
Okay, gotcha. And then
The reason that one's not going for quite as much is because it's right against the kitchen, so it might be a little less desirable or noisier. So we made sure that we listed that in the description so no one got kind of surprised when they moved in. But that was the first one that got rented out when we listed. So
yeah, I mean, it's you got your own potential like half bathroom that you don't have to share. And I mean, I get like there could be some loud people in the kitchen, but it's also kind of nice to have direct access to the kitchen as well. You know, you don't really have to come and go and run by all these people. So one of the things that you do have to do that you don't normally have to do in renting out a property totally is that you have to provide the utilities. So that $25,000 more a year, does that equate in the added utilities?
Yeah. So that actually includes fees for like estimated costs for utilities, for internet, because you have to provide internet as well. That includes additional costs for vacancies and some maintenance.
Okay.
So 10% vacancies.
Does that 25,000 also take into account the the 2 property management fees you have?
Yes. Yep. Awesome. The 15% Padsplit, and my property manager charges me 8%.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. I mean, you're getting 5 times more where you're getting before, and you factored in vacancy, you factored in your utilities and maintenance and the property management amount. So that's amazing. That is so much. I mean, you get your money back plus tons more. I mean, I know that this particular buy was a really kind of a cool purchase as well, but that's great to hear. So what are you going to do moving forward? What are your thoughts in how to expand this particular? Is this going to be, from my understanding, this is kind of where you want to put your niche moving forward? Is that correct on your buying?
Yeah. This, with the change in markets, you had mentioned it earlier. A lot of like increase in just overall costs. I'm seeing increases in interest rates, increases in insurance costs. Kind of everything. Rents are getting to be like, if you make them too high, they're just not affordable for more tenants. So you have more vacancy in there. It's it becomes a struggle to make a long-term rental really, really work and cash flow in this market. And so this is something that, because you're making so much more, not only am I able to like make cash flow, but I'm able to make significantly more cash flow to where like the way I envision scaling. And this is what I did with this one for the renovations is I'm getting financial partners for each of these deals. So someone that pays all of the upfront costs, takes on a loan if we need to get a loan, if we might be able to get it with a sub 2 or something, but if we need to get a loan. So someone that takes on all the financial burden, but they stay completely passive, so they could buy it with their IRA or their 401k or retirement funds, and so since I don't have to pay for any of my upfront funds, I can do as many of these as I can find. And splitting in the way that I structure that is they get 70% of the profit until they get their principal back. And then after that, once they get their principal back, it's a 50-50 split after that. And I'm still if you take those numbers from this property, I'm still making significantly more than double more with 50% of the profit than I would if I was just renting it out long term.
So in the case of if they had to get their own loan, then technically that would be going to pay like some of the, would y'all deduct the amount that needs to go to the paying the loan and then just split it 50-50, or would y'all still do 70-30 until the loan's paid off? I assume you would probably split 50-50.
It would be out of profits. So after the loans are paid off, after all kind of expenses, electric, whatever, are all paid off, then profits are split after that.
Okay. Gotcha. So if they didn't put in their own money, they were just putting in like their basically ability to get a loan, then the split would maybe be a little bit different from the 70.
Yeah, they're all going to be a little different depending on what it is. Like if I have to put in some of my money, then it's going to be a little different. But the idea is that like I feel like it's a really generous kind of split for someone because they'll get all I'm trying to get these so that they get their money back and their principal back at least in under 3 years. This one is like a year and a half. So, I don't see why that's not doable for most of them. And so if someone can get their money back in under 2 years on something and then be making money indefinitely, have an infinite return, I think it's a really good investment. I should be able to find partners and kind of scale this.
I love this concept. I love that you've brought this actually to my attention, and I'm looking forward to seeing you grow, and I'd love to have you back to talk about maybe your property manager on as well, where we can like all three talk about the whole idea of rental pad split arbitrage and how he's created maybe his side of the property management side and growing that as well. So I just want to say thank you for coming on here and talking about it. And we look forward to having you back for sure.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it and happy to share with everyone, what I think is a really like kind of unique and new exit strategy for your real estate portfolio.
Sure. And those who might want to see about partnering with you, if they either have the funds and don't really have the place, or they have the place but not really the expertise on figuring out the pad split, and they may want to partner with you, do you want to provide your contact information possibly for them to maybe get in contact with you?
Sure. My email is, and Erica, you can maybe put it in the description, is eric, eric.williams at E as in Eric, And, V as in Victory, realestate.com. So that's ENV realestate. Eric.williams at envrealestate.com.
All right. Perfect. And I will drop that in the comments below. So those of you that may want to reach out to him to get more information about partnering with him, we always recommend partnering. And the mentality of there's an abundance out there. So definitely reach out to Eric if this is a strategy that you're looking to implement. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.